Part 1. Welcome to Hell in Heels. You wake up in a cramped attic room in the Palace of Versailles. The good news? You live in the most magnificent building in Europe. The bad news? You share this room with 19 other bankrupt aristocrats, someone's pet monkey, and a smell that can only be described as desperation mixed with cheap perfume. You are a courtier, a nobleman, a descendant of warriors who once followed Joan of Arc into battle. And today, like every day, you will stand in a corridor for 6 hours just to watch the king eat his dinner. That is your job. That is your purpose. That is the entire reason you haven't starved to death yet. Your name is something grand, the Marquis de something, the Comte de somewhere else. But your bank account is empty. Your chateau has been crumbling for 3 generations, and your only remaining asset is a pair of silk stockings and the right to be in the same building as Louis XVI. Welcome to Versailles, 1785. 4 years before everyone starts losing their heads, and honestly, by the time the revolution comes, you might actually thank them. Part 2. Your morning routine, bankruptcy in 3 acts. You wake before dawn, not because you're virtuous, because you have to finish your wig before the king's lever. The lever, that's French for rising, is the most important event of the day. The king wakes up. Selected courtiers get to hand him his shirt, his shoes, his breeches. Each item is a privilege. Each privilege costs money. You don't have money, so you stand in the back and watch other, richer men touch the royal underwear. Your wig is a disaster. Real hair is expensive. You've been reusing the same powdered wig for 6 months. It's matted, smells faintly of candle smoke, and yesterday a moth flew out of it during mass. You powder it anyway, with flour, because you can't afford real hair powder. The flour attracts weevils. You pretend not to notice. Your coat is last season's. Your heels are scuffed. Your sword is real, but only because you borrowed money from a Swiss guard who now follows you everywhere with a notepad. You look in the mirror. A pale, exhausted face stares back. You've been eating nothing but bread and watered-down soup for weeks. Your stomach growls. The king's breakfast smells like roasted pheasant. You will not taste any of it. This is nobility. Part 3. The corridor. Your office. By 7 in the morning, you're in the Hall of Mirrors. Not for a party, for work. You stand against the wall with 200 other courtiers, all of you pretending not to be hungry, all of you pretending not to hate each other. Your job is to be visible. That's it. The king needs to see you so he knows you still exist. If he stops seeing you, you stop existing. No more invitations. No more dinner scraps. No more chance to marry your daughter to someone with actual money. So you stand, and stand, and stand. Your shoes are killing you. The red heels, mandatory for noblemen at court, are 3 sizes too small. You borrowed them from your cousin, who borrowed them from a baron who died last winter. They have never fit anyone. You wobble. You sweat. You smile. A courtier next to you whispers, "Did you hear? The Duke of Orleans is serving chocolate at his salon tonight." You nod as if you're invited. You're not invited. You've never been invited. The king passes by. You bow. He doesn't look at you. He never looks at you. This is your career. Part 4. The dinner. Watching others eat. At 2 o'clock, the king eats. This is a public event. Hundreds of people watch him consume a 14-course meal while standing. You are one of them. You stand in the designated noble spectators section, which is behind a velvet rope, which is behind the actual important people. You can see the king's fork move from plate to mouth. You can see the steam rising from the roasted lamb. You can smell the butter. You haven't eaten since yesterday. Your stomach makes a noise. The woman next to you glares. You pretend you coughed. The king finishes his pheasant. A servant removes the plate. You watch the leftovers get carried away. Not to you, but to the royal dogs. The dogs eat better than you do. After the meal, courtiers are allowed to approach the king's table and take the uneaten bread. This is called the privilege of the leftover. You scramble for a crust. Another courtier elbows you in the ribs. You get half a roll. You eat it in the corridor like a rat. This is dignity. Part 5. Your finances, a comedy of debt. Let's talk about money. You don't have any, but you look like you do. Your coat is velvet, faded but velvet. Your lace cuffs are actually real lace, stolen from your mother's hope chest. Your snuff box is silver, empty but silver. To maintain this illusion, you owe money to your tailor, 3 years overdue, your wigmaker, she sends her apprentice to collect and the apprentice cries, a local baker, you paid him in compliments, a Swiss guard named Hans who lent you 20 livres and now sleeps outside your door. Your annual income from your crumbling estate is about 800 livres. Your annual expenses to stay at Versailles are about 8,000 livres. The difference comes from loans, lies, and the occasional sale of a family heirloom. Last month, you sold your grandmother's portrait, the frame. The painting was worthless. Your cousin sold his horse. Now he walks everywhere. He says it's for his health. Your friend, the Comte de Something, sold his wife's jewelry. She doesn't know yet. She'll find out at the next ball. You all pretend this is normal. Part 6. The card game, where dreams go to die. Evenings at Versailles are for gambling, not for fun, for survival. Desperate nobles sit at green felt tables and bet money they don't have against other desperate nobles who also don't have money. You play. You lose. You always lose. Tonight, you lose 40 livres to a bishop who smells like incense and victory. You don't have 40 livres. You write an IOU on a napkin. The bishop folds it into his prayer book. You'll see him again tomorrow. Between games, you hear whispers. The commoners are restless. There's talk of revolution. You laugh. Revolution? These people can't even afford bread. Oh, wait. Neither can you. But you're a noble. You have a sword. The sword is borrowed. The scabbard is cracked. But it's a sword. You drink cheap wine from a crystal glass. The glass is real. The wine is vinegar. You pretend to be carefree. Inside, you're calculating how many more days you can eat before you have to sell your shoes. Part 7. The Quest for the Shirt. Months of humiliation. For months, almost a year, you've been trying to earn the highest privilege at court, the right to hand the king his nightshirt. This is not a joke. This is the most coveted honor in France. Every nobleman wants it. Only a few dozen get it. You have been petitioning the king's valet, bribing the king's mistress's maid, and complimenting the king's dog for 11 months. And finally, you receive the news. Tomorrow morning, you will present the royal nightshirt to Louis XVI himself. You cannot sleep. You rehearse. You will bow. You will approach. You will hold the shirt with both hands. You will not drop it. You will not trip. You will not sneeze. Your wig is freshly flowered. No weevils for once. Your shoes are polished with candle wax. Your heart is pounding. Part 8. The disaster. You drop the shirt. The morning arrives. You stand in the king's bedchamber with a dozen other courtiers. The king sits up in bed. His hair is messy. He looks bored. He's probably thinking about locksmithing. He loves locks. The valet hands you the shirt. It's white linen, plain, unremarkable. But it's the king's shirt. It might as well be the Holy Grail. You walk forward. 3 steps, 2 steps, 1 step. Your borrowed shoes slip on the polished floor. Your foot catches on your sword. You lurch forward. The shirt flies from your hands. It lands, of all places, in a puddle of water from the king's wash basin. Silence. The king looks at the shirt, then at you, then back at the shirt. He laughs, not a kind laugh, not a forgiving laugh, a laugh that says, "Who is this fool and why is he in my bedroom?" The other courtiers laugh too, because they hate you, because they're relieved it wasn't them, because laughing is safer than silence. You pick up the wet shirt. Water drips onto your shoes. You bow. You retreat. You never get another chance. By noon, the news has spread across Versailles. The Comte de Who Cares dropped the king's shirt in a puddle. Your name is now a punchline. You will never recover from this. Part 9. The Aftermath. Social annihilation. Within a week, you are ruined. Not financially. That happened years ago. but socially. The worst fate a courtier can suffer. Your invitations stop. The card tables close to you. The king's valet no longer returns your bows. Your friends, the ones who laughed at you, now pretend they don't know you. You still live at Versailles because you have nowhere else to go, but you eat alone. You stand in the corridor alone. You sleep in your attic room alone, surrounded by 19 other bankrupts who also have no friends. The monkey is still there. It steals your bread. You don't even care anymore. Part 10. The Revolution, 4 years later. You hear the news in fragments. The commoners have stormed the Bastille. The king is under house arrest. The National Assembly is abolishing feudalism. You don't understand what abolishing feudalism means, but you understand that your crumbling estate is now not even yours. The peasants have stopped paying rent, not because they're angry, because they have no money either. No one has money. In 1792, the monarchy falls. You flee Versailles in a cart full of other failed nobles. Your wig is gone. Your shoes are gone. You wear a peasant's smock and pretend you were always a farmer. You survive the terror because you're too insignificant to guillotine. When the revolutionaries ask your name, you say Jean, which is not your name. They wave you away. You end your days in a small village, teaching French grammar to children who don't care. You tell no one about the shirt. You tell no one about the king. You tell no one about the monkey. Sometimes, at night, you dream of the hall of mirrors, the chandeliers, the silk, the smell of roasted pheasant. Then you wake up to the sound of chickens and the smell of your own unwashed linen. You were a courtier of Versailles. You handed the king his shirt. You dropped it. And in the end, that drop was the most honest thing you ever did. The end.